How are you guys? And welcome to my channel. Today, as you can see, I have a very exciting day ahead of me. This is a fully custom desktop that I pick myself, each part according to my needs, according to what I picture for the perfect, not very expensive high-end desktop. And they are all brand new parts. I'm going to be unboxing them individually. I'm gonna place my camera over my shoulder to give you a good unboxing experience, but it's going to be a very long video, I guess. So I'm going to try to keep short. I'm not going to give a lot of details of them, but you can find the link of each of them on the description to make it easier for you to find out more of them. There will be loads of videos reviewing each of them on YouTube too. These are very good parts, I guess. I didn't go cheap, I didn't go expensive, so I tried to meet in between. So without no further ado, let's get started. And if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe, shall we?
I loved my energy in the video. Now, let me use the HyperX mounted mic to get you a better sound quality. And let's kick off the sound. Getting started with the CPU cooling choice, I went to H150i Elite CAPELLIX from Corsair. Opening the box, and the first thing you're gonna see is the manual, which can be very handy. It shows you step by step how to assemble the part and how to mount it on your case. Now, H150i supports a few sockets for your CPU. It comes pre-installed the 1200 LGA for Intel, which is what I'm going for. It's also included in the box a replacement pump head cap, which is cool. If you want to do some changes on the RGB lighting, it will give a different appearance. The radiator with the pump head comes nice and tight inside the box, together with the 320mm RGB fans. What I would like to highlight is that this product has included the iCUE controller from Corsair, which is very good to make your life easier in terms of connecting all those power cables in it, as well as allows you to control the RGB lighting from the iCUE software. It comes with these really cool 3M stickers to make it easier for you to stick into your case. I was very happy with the finishing of the product. The material feels premium. I didn't find many imperfections. Seeing other videos that the radiator comes damaged or with scratches, mine came spotless, so I guess I'm the lucky one. I would keep two things in mind before buying this part. First, to make sure it's compatible with your socket CPU, and secondly, if you have enough space to fit this thing on your case, because it's huge. Now let me introduce you the motherboard I choose for my build. It's a well-known ROG Strix Z590F model gaming Wi-Fi, which comes with the Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth card. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was in between the ASUS Prime Z590A, which it's also great, but doesn't come with the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which was never really a deal breaker for me, to be honest, because when you build such a desktop, you want to take the most of the internet bandwidth. And in this case, I think the 2.5 gigs Ethernet would work way better in terms of connectivity and stability. Now, there is another thing that it came to my attention. The ASUS Prime comes only with 2 M2 slots, and in the other hand, ROG Strix come with 4. But there is something that I want to mention about those 4 M2 slots. I was very disappointed because the M2/2, the second slot, share lanes with the PCI Express 16. So in the end, you have to enable the lanes to be shared on the BIOS, and that will then change your PCI Express 16 to 8. You don't want a very high-end GPU to be sharing lanes just to use the M2 slots number 2. So I don't understand why ASUS would build something like this at first place, because it's a gaming motherboard. They know we want to take the most of our GPU performance. So after all, I had to swap my M2/2 to the M2/3, which then works independently a little bit slower, 3.0. And I came back to the BIOS to set the onboarding devices work on the PCI Express in full 16 4.0. The I/O shield is integrated to the board, and I love that. The build material feels premium. At the back, the welding is spotless. I couldn't find a single imperfection. The heatsink, oh, they are beautiful. They are very nice and finishing. And of course, the board comes with the 4+8 pins for your CPU power supply. I loved this little antenna for the Wi-Fi card. It's different, it's cool, it's designed. It comes with the 6 SATA port, 3 PCI Express with 116, 18, 14. I guess you can plug a capture card on the second one, and on the third one maybe a sound card. Now one thing that was attracted to me to buy this card, it was the fact that the back I/O panel has the 2 USB-Cs that I was looking for. They are also 3.2 and the 2.0 gens normal type A, which is great. You can also count on the 5 gold plate audio jacks as well as the optical port. For an ATX size that supports all these features and comes in with a very attractive price and build quality, I am happy with the card I bought it. Now let's quickly talk about the CPU. I selected the i9-11900K, which is great. Considering the cost benefit, it's a decent spec and it's not super expensive like the 12th gen ones. Anyway, it wouldn't make any sense to buy a 10th gen if I'm running 4th gen hardware stuff on the PCI Express. So I got 11th gen and it's actually okay with me. It's not too bad. It runs everything that I need. The package itself only comes with the CPU and some stickers, but it's beautiful and nice design. Now let's move forward and talk about RAM memory. I'm going with 16 gigs Corsair Vegans Pro, which is basically the version that has RGB built in. They're beautiful, and yes, 16 gigs only, 2 of 8. I will in the future get 2 more of 8 and get all the 4 DIMMs filled in. But for now, I think that would do the job. Can't forget to mention these are the DDR4 3600Hz. So let's move forward to storage now, which I'm getting a Western Digital 850 Black together with the 970 EVO Plus. Now before I buy this thing, I kind of did a research online and I found out there are actually 2 versions of the 970 EVO Plus, where the latest release comes equipped with the same Elphys controller as the 980 Pro instead of the PCIe Gen 3 Phoenix controller. Yes, Elphys is a PCIe Gen 4 controller, but is backwards compatible with the PCIe Gen 3 platform. What I read online is that the 970 EVO Plus has in the label the MZV ending with BLR PSID on the label, and the latest version with the Elphys revision has the same label MZVR blah 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 with BLU at the end. Now here is me attempting to show you what I have in my label, which I couldn't really identify. So I'm gonna let you guys search about it and you let me know if you find out what the story is with this release, if it's truth or not. Now let's move forward to the WD850 Black Edition, which I don't think we have a lot to talk about it. This is a solid Gen 4 PCIe, 7000 plus write and reading speed. This one specifically I'm going to be using for my OS, which is 500 gigs. I know it's a bit overkill, but I couldn't find any smaller. I'm happy with that anyway. Now let's move forward to the desktop power supply. I'm going with Corsair HX 1000 watts. Yes, I think 1000 is a decent number. It's not overkill though. If you stop to think, I have a decent motherboard, 2 SSDs, rtx3080ti, and plus an i9-11900K. I don't want to be very short with 850. I think 1000, it gives just enough power and a little bit more room in case I need it. Now let's talk about the package. It comes of course with manual, loads of papers, and then you have this beautiful cover and the power supply itself. It's a very decent size. I was a bit worried. I didn't know if it would fit in my case. Of course, not surprised to see the many options you have available to use. It comes with this very thick power cable and of course some cable ties to help you with the cable management. And then finally this nice finishing package with a million different types of cables. So you have everything there, 8 pins, 4 pins, SATAs, everything that you need. And now, the moment we are all waiting for is the unboxing of the Founder Edition rtx3080ti. Yay! I'm pleased to finally own one of these cards. I loved the way this card is finished. There is not much to talk about in terms of performance and everything. It's standard, we all know, but it's huge. I can tell the size of this thing. I was surprised. I wasn't expecting that. It's the first time putting my hands on it and I'm very proud to finally be able to own one. Now the package itself comes with the standard adapter for the power supply and some papers. Yes, papers, some manuals, some Nvidia stuff. I don't know, I didn't read it, but I guess it's there for a reason. And again, some close-ups for the most well-known and desired beautiful graphics card in the world. Enjoy. Okay, now it's time to move on to the Corsair iCUE 5000X RGB case, which was definitely my first choice without a shadow of the doubt. Comparing with other models in this price range between 200 and 250 euros, the 5000X has way more to offer. And I will give you some background what makes me think that the 5000X is the best option in this price range. But before, let me warn you, this case is heavy. It's definitely 15 kilo plus. The case itself comes very safe in the package. I don't think you would receive with the tempered glass broken. The side door comes with the usual screws that you can open and close using your fingertip. But in addition to that, it comes with this extra safe protection. It's like a pin. You push, it clicks to close, and you pulled open. Now, let me warn you in this, it took me forever to open the first time. It was so hard, like stuck to it. It wouldn't come out. Eventually did. Now let me show you the top part of the case, which has the same pin I'm talking about here, and it's tempered glass. Beautiful. And in addition to that, it comes with this very handy magnetic filter where you can pop in, pop out, just to clean, you know. Now let's move to the other side of the case. It comes with the usual screws where you can open using your fingertip, as well as the extra pin to secure the door, and it comes with this cool filter on the side to help on the airflow inside the case. Now the side door itself is made of tempered glass, which I believe that's why they included in the case this additional side door here, which I believe is designed to help you with the cable management. Once it's closed, it will be hiding all those cables and it's not going to be visible with the side door made of tempered glass. Now I was pleased to see how this case comes from factory in terms of cable management. Everything was tidy. Now this case comes with the iCUE system, and I was also pleased to see them all connected, ready to go. It's visible. You can have the option to install 3 more 120mm fans on the side panel, and of course there is a low light for this case. I would say it's the useless hard drive cage they placed in just in front of the power supply unit. I am well aware there is a lot of people out there using 10 gigs hard drive, and it's okay, but when you require a bigger power supply, just keep in mind this case might be an issue for you. But in the other hand, you can also use the 2.5-inch SATAs. Now let's quickly move to the front I/O, which I don't have a lot to talk about it. The only thing I would highlight is that is a USB-C. Now let's move to the back panel of the case, and the spot for the motherboard I/O panel is very nice finished, and the case also offers you the vertical mount for the GPU. I forgot to mention there is this nice plate here where you can remove to help you with the cable management, and then you can pop back in to have a nice finishing. So that's my overall conclusion. After searching between 5000D, 4000 airflow models, this is far the best case you can get with all these features and iCUE integrated from Corsair. Now let's move to the build. I'm going to get started installing the CPU to the motherboard socket. I don't think this can go wrong, because on the CPU itself has a little arrow pointing the directions that you should be matching with the little arrow pointing on the motherboard socket. You just need to be careful, attention to detail, and that won't go wrong. Once you put the CPU in place, just lower the clip and make sure it's locked down. Now let's move to the RAM memory. Now guys, if not all, most of the motherboard works with dual channel, okay? If you only have 2 out of 4 DIMMs, make sure you're following the directions your motherboard is giving to you. In terms of installation, this is super standard. All you gotta do is pay attention to detail. It only fits one way in. Now guys, I apologize in terms of peeling out the plastics. I know it's pleasant for a lot of people out there, but I was kind of pissed. There was plastics all over the motherboard, and I didn't want to miss a single one, because you know, gas temperature, it melts down. You don't want smoke, you don't want to be worried about that. Seriously, it took me forever to finish peeling out the plastic. They put a plastic even on the audio chipset. God, what are they thinking? And then 1 hour later, I was finally getting started with my M2 installation. So that's me removing the heatsink of the M2/1 PCIe, which supports 4.0. It comes with this very cool thermal paste or adhesive, whichever you call. The installation is straightforward. Remove the screw, slide in the M2 to put the screw back in, place the heatsink back on top. Now I was a little bit upset because on the motherboard there is a quick release-ish for the M2 screw, so it kind of slide in, slide out, white plastic bits. It's a very popular thing nowadays. But when I installed that, the heatsink wouldn't fit in completely. It wasn't even touching the M2, so I had to remove it and use the standard screw. Obviously, not the same case for the M2/2 slot. I'm using the quick release white plastic bit I just mentioned there, and it does fit well with the heatsink. But if I could back in time, I would never have placed that M2 in that slot there. I would just move to the PCIe third slot, which is just beside it, since I learned down the road that the M2/2 slot shares lanes with the PCIe 16. And once you enable that on the BIOS onboarding settings, you kind of lower the PCIe from 16 to 8, and you don't want that. Now let's keep moving, and I was just explaining you visually that I removed every single bit of the case just to make simple for the video. And I'm going to start installing the motherboard on the case, which the case offers this little screw where you can fit in vertically the motherboard on the case. I am old school. I don't like doing that. I like placing the case horizontally so I can just lie down the motherboard in it. Now guys, I have built 500 plus computers in my life, and I find this way easier. If you do like the vertical way, go for it. It's up to you. Now guys, if you're new to this, you're building your own computer for the first time, my best advice to you and tip is be extra careful with the lanes in the motherboard. If you risk with a screwdriver, or in the case while you're trying to fit in, you're going to be damage the connectivity of something in there. Now next, I'm going to be fitting in the USB-C, USB audio, everything that belongs to the front I/O panel in the case. It's fairly simple because normally the motherboard gives you directions and it only fits normally one way in. Again, you just need to be extra careful with attention to detail so you won't damage the pins. You can always do a little bit of cable management while you're doing this. The cables are fairly thin, so you won't have a lot of trouble. You just try to keep tidy as much as you can. Moving forward, next I'm going to be fitting in my power supply unit, which, as you guys can see, I removed the useless hard drive case, which I could still keep it. It's just it wouldn't be very easy access as it's supposed to. It would be in the very far end of the case. So if you really want a hard drive cage, you can do that. If you don't have a very large power supply, keep that in mind. Okay, so at this point I decided to work on the cable management for the motherboard power supply as well as the CPU 8+4 pins power supply, which are located at the very top of the motherboard. It's just below where the radiator is gonna be fit. So I kind of got a little bit worried though, so I put a pause on that and I started to work on the radiator thing. So first things first, before anything else, you have to fit in the brackets that goes in behind the motherboard. So that's where you're going to fit the pump head. It works super simple though. It comes with these 3M stickers where you adjust the position and you stick into the back of the case. And that's basically it. Now that you have the socket ready to fit in the pump head, all you gotta do is fit in the screws that's going to support that. I genuinely think that can't go wrong, but there is 2 sets of screws that fits in that bracket. You need to be sure you're picking up the correct one accordingly with your socket, okay? That information you're gonna find in the manual. Now let's talk about the position I'm planning to mount my radiator, and no, I'm not planning to do a front mount with the tubes pointing to the top. I am well aware that the pump is going to be pulling a lot of air in that position, so that's why I'm going to proceed with a safe top mount. Now each of the fans comes with 2 cables. One is to plug into the RGB iCUE system and the other one is to plug into the power supply, which is also integrated on the iCUE system. Yes, iCUE system make our life so much easier in terms of cable management and assembling. So now I'm going just to fast forward this a little bit, because fitting in 320mm fan on the radiator with these long screws, it's a little bit of time consuming and a very painful process. Now talking about painful process, I was just trying to fit in the radiator at the top, but the reason why I paused the cable management on the power supply, it was because I had concerns on the 8 plus 4 pins CPU power supply cable. And yeah, my concern came true. I was unable to mount the radiator at the top with the 8 plus 4 pins going through the very top of the motherboard there. I had to unplug that cable and going through all the way from the side door. But the good news is that it doesn't really look too bad in terms of cable management, and I was able to mount the radiator on the top without further problems. And then this happened. I forgot to put back in the door that kind of gives a finishing on the cable management, and I couldn't fit back in with the radiator mounted. I removed the radiator and I fit back in the part that gives a nice finishing. It's okay, it's not a big deal, it was just a little bit time consuming. I didn't want to remove this from the edit so you guys can learn something from my mistakes. Just be careful when you're doing your builds, don't do the same thing I've just done. And just to finish, you know, I was a little bit worried then if my graphics card would fit with that finishing door. But the good news is a little bit squeezing and it was perfectly okay. It was not touching. I did even some tests, squeezing a piece of paper to see if that would touch it, and that was spotless. It was perfect. Okay, so at this point I was already celebrating because everything went through the way I was expecting. So I just decided to finish screwing up the radiator at the top mount and of course placing the pump head in the socket of the motherboard. Now it's very important you do a circle motion to tie the screws in. Do like a little bit each at a time. Now you're going to notice the pump have two cables hanging there. One is very important. You're going to plug in where your motherboard says CPU. That's very important because it connects with the pump and gets some information out of it, like temperature and things like that. And the second one, you're going to use some cable management skills to go through the case to the back and plug into the iCUE system. That's where you're going to control the RGB colors in the pump. And now is the time to organize the iCUE system, but not the one that comes pre-installed on the case, because that's already done from factory, yes, but the one that comes with the pump that we need to connect the 3 fans that goes in the radiator plus the pump head needs to be organized and placed in the case. It's not a big deal, it's fairly easy to do. It can't go wrong. Just once you complete everything and you place the iCUE, don't forget to plug in the SATA power supply because otherwise that won't power on. Now that's basically it, guys. I am finishing the builds. Let's just go to the interesting part that you guys love, peeling out double-sided plastic cover. Don't go away, hang around to watch the very first time powering on this beast.
Because you always, you know, it may work, it may not work, but we are totally prepared. Now, yay! It's working! Give me some display, give me some display. Go on. Ba-da-da-da. Weirdly, it's not giving me display. There you have it! Ooh! Now guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm aware it's a fairly long video. I try to keep short as possible. I'm super happy, super excited to start installing my Windows 11 and my gaming. I'm going to do some testing. I'm going to tweak around. It's my brand new desktop. very high-end desktop. If you like what you see, I would appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. It's a new channel. I'm starting now with this channel, and I'm going to be doing a lot of tech content, especially show you some streaming tips that I used to use my PlayStation 5 to stream using OBS, so external capture card and everything. Loads of contents coming to this channel. Please subscribe, give me some love. There was a lot of work to do this video, there was a lot of money to do this build. I'm super happy. I'm going to start to enjoy, and peace. See you next time, guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.